Um, well, we've got a few questions I asked you over this chapter, the career of the music teacher, support growth and leadership. So to start, if you could just talk about who you are, what your background is in music education, what roles you currently serve on, and what those look like.
Sure. Well, I'm Roy Maxwell. I taught in St. Joe for 29 years. I was a high school band director. I did 6 through 12. I had a few beginners, taught a little bit of middle school, and had the high school band. Um, I retired in 2016, and now I currently do a lot of different things. I write some drill for marching bands. I serve as the MMEA Government Relations Chair, which also means I'm the liaison to the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education, um, and the mentoring chair for the Northwest District. I'm also the festival manager for District 20 Solo Ensemble, and I do a little teaching in the North Kansas City School District, just a couple schools one day a week, just doing some clarinet things.
Very cool.
Awesome, awesome. Uh, Roy, this is Danielle. She's the band director at Midway. Danielle, this is Roy.
Nice to
Hi,
meet you.
Danielle. Nice to meet you.
I'm glad you could make the time to kind of meet with us today and talk about some of the questions we have. So, not only did John and I create questions, but we actually asked our peers if they had any questions for you. So, to start off, how do you undergo the process of choosing someone to mentor a teacher? Like, are there specific qualities you or the principal or whoever should look for?
So say that question again, please. I'm sorry.
How do you undergo the process of choosing someone to mentor a new teacher?
Okay. Um, well, the first thing that I'm going to look, when I ask somebody to do that, the first thing I look at is, okay, were they successful in their position? Do they have the proper background to help this person? For example, um, I would be highly unqualified to help anybody do anything with vocal music. So I want to make sure that they have a common background. Um, Also, something that we're trying to do, or the Chris Sprague, who's the state mentoring chair, she really wants us to do is try to find people that if they're currently teaching to mentor because they would be in there, or somebody that's recently retired. Um, that way, there's because sometimes there with an age gap there can be issues in communication and um, you know sometimes older people like me don't understand um, uh, the mindset of a younger teacher because it honestly it is a lot different than when I started. And I don't mean that oh, these kids today. I just mean it's different, and in a lot of ways it's really good. My daughter teaches high school history, and just seeing what she goes through and understanding, I think um, some of the younger teachers do a lot of the self-care stuff much better than my generation is. You bucked up and you did the job, and don't go crying about it because nobody cares. And I think today young people are a lot more aware of their mental health, and they do a lot better job at taking care of that. So that's I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I think that's why you want to be careful when you're pairing people up. That it's especially if it's an older more veteran teacher or retired teacher that they're still going to be really open minded and understanding of how teaching is to be understanding and um, just this being helpful for what today's teacher needs because it's a lot different. I mean, there are things that because I'm like I said, I'm still out in the schools.
Right.
Some and the some of the things that the teachers deal with now, things I would have never dreamed of, and I wouldn't exactly know how to help somebody with that. So I would have to go find somebody to mentor me in that. So, and I think that's another thing about finding a mentor and being a mentor is you don't have all of the answers, and that's okay. Um, but we can a lot of times I'll see, like John and I will sit down and we'll work through a problem together, and he'll just bounce ideas off of me, and I'll say, well, from my perspective, this is what I see, or this is good, or this is bad. And so, I think, just having that open line, somebody that's going to have a really open line of communication also, and not, our job as a mentor is not to go, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
The job of a mentor should be, okay, did that work? Did you feel good about that? Okay, then you want to keep doing it. If not, let's find some other ways to do it. Not necessarily better ways, but just other ways.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. So we'll kind of jump around as far as topics goes. So this is kind of in reference to small schools. Oftentimes at small schools, the specials teachers do not have a mentor who teaches the same grades or content as them. Do you see this as a hindrance or help? In what kind of way, if it is a hindrance, what kind of ways can a small school teacher remedy that?
It can be both, actually. Now I didn't teach in a small district, but my first year or my second year of teaching, I was being evaluated by my vice principal, who, nope, no music background, but he understood teaching, and he really helped me a lot in, okay, here's what's wrong with your lesson. Here's how to make it better and present it to the students. So I think as far as some of the structure of designing a class, not necessarily music, but having good teaching is kind of a universal thing. So I think I think that it can be okay. Where I know that the more rural teacher, they need somebody with probably need somebody with a little more pedagogy. They're going to need some pedagogy help. So that's where it is a hindrance, and that it's really important that the rural teacher it does find somebody to mentor them. Um, and that's where that and the other problem with that, and even in a big district like I was in, I mean, there's a lot of feeling of isolation, because there was one of me, just like, I wasn't the whole music department. I mean, I had other people in the music department, but still, I was, when I first started, I was the only band teacher. And so, I had, you know, high school, two middle schools, and, elementary, and it was just me. So I had to go out and find people to, hey, well, a little help here. So I think that, um, that if the local district does a good job of pairing that new teacher up with a good quality teacher that understands, hey, I'm just here to um, be a sounding board. If something's not working, well, let's try to make it better, and understand that, no, I don't understand how to teach a kid to play trumpet, so you're going to have to go find somebody else to help with that problem. So it's like I said, it's good and bad. Unfortunately, what I find is a lot of times, um, a classroom teacher just thinks, oh well, that music thing, oh gosh, I can't teach them anything. I don't know, and so they're very dismissive of their own ability to share things. And I think that's important, just to, as the newer teacher can just say, hey, no, I'm just, how do you take a role? How does this program work? How does this attendance program work? What what is the building? What is their expectation as far as grades, and when to do grades, and reporting to the parents, and how do you do it, and that's just kind of some meat and potatoes of surviving in a classroom. And I think a good classroom teacher can help anybody with that.
Yeah. So you actually talked about how your mentor teacher was a principal. So that kind of leads into our next question. Do you believe that mentors should help share the responsibility the principal has? So, for instance, guiding a mentee through replying to a parent email or phone calls or conflict with another coworker. Because a lot of principals deal with that, but first year teachers will have their mentor help them. So do you believe that's the responsibility that the mentor or teacher has?
Um, I think that the mentor can guide the teacher, but when you're dealing, like when you're dealing with an upset parent, which I did one time, um, you want to make sure that you are following the school rules and how, the proper way of communication, whether it's a text, an email, or a phone call, how they want it done. So I think if the teacher, I mean, I would go to the, I mean, I think the mentor can say, hey, yeah, I've had this happen. This is how I handled it. Go talk to the boss, though. This would be my suggestion, but go talk to the boss and make sure that's how they want you to do it. Because I would never, as a mentor, I would never want to say, oh yeah, this is how you do it, and you just call that parent, and you just tell them how it's going to be. That may not be the way the school wants it handled. They want it handled, in a better way. So I think that's where, the mentor can advise the mentee on how it can be done, but then you want to go to the big chair to find out how they want it done, because it doesn't matter what your mentor says, because if the principal's not going to back you, it doesn't matter.
Right. How much are mentors compensated, and do you believe that number is a fair amount? I'm sure it's different per school district, but
That's a great question. I don't know the answer. I don't know. I was never compensated. Because
okay.
I mean, I might got $100 or something. I don't know. They don't, to me, I don't know of any compensation. I'm sure that there are districts that do, but I don't have any information on that. I apologize.
Okay.
You're all good.
That's all right.
So you've already touched on this a little bit, but what do you find the most beneficial about this program, and what do you find the least beneficial?
I think now, are you speaking about the MMEA mentoring program, or the more of the state thing?
You can respond to either.
Okay, I won't respond to the state because I don't have a good enough background in that. I think that the MMEA mentoring program is really good. Steve Litweiler started it. He really got the ball rolling with it, and set up a really good program that has been modeled across the nation. There are many states that he's gone to speak and help them organize. And now Chris Sprague does it, and Chris is working really hard to continue to expand it. She's trying to get into the colleges and universities to explain to those students, okay, here's what's available when it's coming out, or when you're coming out, here's what's available. To me, the biggest downfall, and John's not an example of this, but younger teachers that are coming out are afraid to be mentored.
Yeah.
Um, I reach out all the time, and Chris and I we have talked about this, and not just me, but we've talked about this, and we're not sure how to solve the problem, because I'm sure that there's a perception from the newer teacher that, you know, I'm coming in and telling you everything that you're doing wrong. And that's not what the program is. It could also be a case that, well, I don't want to admit that I don't know what I don't know. Because I've been hired for this job. I don't like to admit that I don't know. So I'm not going to ask for any help. Or I don't want to I don't want anybody coming in and looking at my program until it's good. That's like saying, well, I'll go to the gym as soon as I'm in better shape. Well, that doesn't, me, when I was a new teacher, when I went to uh, district band day, or I went to music festival or whatever, or I went to MMEA, man, I was going to those old guys all the time. Hey, how do you do this? What book do you use? I annoyed them to no end, because I didn't know enough. No college preparatory program, I don't care how good it is going to prepare you. They're going to prepare you to survive.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
mean, that, because I felt like I had great instruction. And there's too much, and so much of it comes from experience. So I think if the 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 younger teacher will be more open to accept, whether they need to just be more open to accepting the help, understanding that this is not a program to be judging. We just want to help. We just want to be there for people. But I think John's a great example. I've got another friend of mine, another John, that really took advantage of it, and they had me come in a lot, and just sometimes I spent the day, and we'd get done, and we would just reflect on the day, and some things were great, some things needed some help, and so we those are really good examples. Chris Sprague talks about, there's a young lady down in her part of the state that they would just go and have a coffee and just chat about what had been going on. So I think if the mentors, one, can make sure that they understand and embrace the idea of, we're not there to judge, we're there to be an aid, we're there to be a sounding board, and the mentees can understand the same thing, that we're not there to judge, we're just there to be a sounding board, and if they need some help, we'll provide it. Whether it's come in doing a clinic, we don't, none of us care. We just want to help people be successful, because every mentor had the same beginnings, or had a similar beginning situation of any new teacher. I mean, we all had a million questions and just a lot of things that we didn't know, and that you can only get through. There's just some things you can only get through experience.
Yeah. What are resources for people not politically savvy to gain a better understanding about the impacts of legislation on education and music education?
Say it again. You kind of froze for a second on my computer.
Sorry. What are some resources for some people that are not politically savvy to gain a better understanding about the impacts of legislation on education and music education?
NAFME has a great resource, has several great resources on their website. If you go to the advocacy link there on their website, they've got a lot of really good information about the national level. From the state and local, I think it's important to join your teacher organization, whether it's MSTA or MNEA, because I know MNEA, because I was a member of that my whole career. They send out a weekly, here's what's happening in or a daily, this is what's happening in Jeff City. I don't know about MSTA. I'm sure they do some kind of communication. I just don't know what they do. But those are good resources. I try, as the government relations chair, if there's something of that we want the membership to know about, I try to put something out on social media, and if it's important enough, then the president will send out an email blast. One thing that the board believe, and I'm going to support the board in this as well, that MMEA represents all music teachers. It doesn't care. We don't care. We do public, private. It doesn't matter. None of that. All we want to make sure is the person that's in front of those children is qualified to do the job. And if they can't, if they're not, then give them the support that they need. Okay. So there's a lot of legislation, or there's legislation that comes through that I, as a citizen, might have a concern with, or other people might have concerns with. I don't take a stand on that when I send out an official communication. Now, you go to my private Facebook, you go to my Facebook page, and you may see exactly what I think of legislation, and another group that's really good with that is the Missouri Alliance for Arts Education, MOAAE.org, I think is the website. And we, during the legislative session, we have weekly meetings to discuss legislation that's coming up, and if we need to take any action. So that's another great resource because they do a real good job of, okay, they've got a spreadsheet that you can look at legislate. It's organized. Uh, Melissa Cooper is the what's her title? Director of anyway, she organizes all that stuff. I can't remember her name or her title, but she does a great job of keeping that spreadsheet organized. Heine Inman is the lobbyist for um, MOAAE, and MMEA put some money towards that lobbying as well, just to make sure that things that are coming through aren't going to hurt our music students aren't going to hurt the students. But those are two really good websites to go to. And again, your state, whatever your affiliation is, like I said, MSTA, MNEA, or I guess larger school districts, it's AFT, American Federation of Teaching, American Teaching Federation. So I don't know. Those are only in, I think, Kansas City and St. Louis. So I don't know. I never had any dealings with those.
Awesome. Well, I think you've really touched on the rest of our questions, so we'll just ask you one last one. So, for instance, when I started teaching, I do teach 6th through 12th grade band, and they paired me with a second grade teacher who is also on maternity leave for half of the year. So I
That's
had
cool.
an issue contacting my mentor, and usually whenever I did, she was not able to answer any of my questions, but she was very nice and very helpful. So what issues have you seen or heard about with these mentor teachers, and how can you give advice for the younger educators to navigate those issues?
Well, first of all, I would say in your situation, whoever is, I mean, that situation shouldn't have occurred. If that teacher wasn't able to fulfill out her obligation through the year, then they shouldn't have done it. Or they should have said, okay, he's going to take care of this much, and then we're going to put you with this other person. So that's an administrative issue. And so I think that one of a thing that administration has to do, at the local level, is make sure that um, the the mentor is going to be able to complete the duties for the course of the year, and in the right way. And I know, I mean, there have been times that um, that it's just been oil and water. I mean, these two human beings do not mix. They do not get along, and that's where the mentor needs to realize, you know what, we don't have a connection, and I can't get through to them. Either they don't want to listen, I don't know how to communicate, or we're just so far apart. And that's where they need to go to the administration and say, this is not working. I don't it I and this is and again, this is where we have to be professional. I don't know if it's my fault. I don't know if it's their fault. It doesn't matter. We're not getting along. We need to reassign. We need to reassign this person to somebody else because I'm not able to do the job. Unfortunately, what often happens is the hard feelings. We just, well, that kid just won't listen to me, and they don't know what they're doing. They won't run their class the way that I tell them to, which again is not your job as a mentor. That is not what's supposed to happen. I think one thing that would help is if districts would, during their PD in the beginning of the year, okay, we're going to have a 2-hour session for all our mentors, not our mentees, but our mentors. Okay, guys, this is your job. Because a lot of you don't know. Again, you don't know what you don't know. If you've never been a mentor, you may have a totally different idea of what it's supposed to be than what the administration wants it to be. So I think that would help. And I think Chris, for MMEA, Chris does a really good job of communicating to the districts that have mentoring chairs. Unfortunately, not every district does, but she does a good job of communicating with the presidents, to communicate with us. Um, just, hey guys, it's just keep it simple. Be there for them when they need. Send them an email, give them a phone call. Hey, do you want to go grab dinner? Whatever. But just making sure that you, as the mentor, that you are filling the role that mentee is allowing you to do. You know, they may want a lot, they may not want very much. Sorry if you hear my dogs barking in the background. We're being attacked apparently. So happens often. Wild neighborhood we live in. Our cul-de-sac is just roving gangs. But yeah, I think that like I said, I think Chris does a really good job. But then again, even with that, some people just have it in their head of, I'm going to fix this person, whether they want it or not. I'm going to fix them. So I think often, to me, I think oftentimes the failure can be with the mentor of going in with the wrong attitude. Because like I said, I offer my help. If people are like, yeah, come on out, I'm going to go out there, and if I don't hear from them, okay, here's some other people you can. If you don't want me, that's fine. Here's some other people you can contact, but please contact somebody. Don't be out there alone.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for meeting with us.
Well, Roy. Yeah, thanks, man. It's good seeing you.
Good seeing you, John. Having a good summer?
Oh yeah. It's boring. We'll have to meet up sometime before camp starts.
Yeah. Go.
But thanks again, and have a good rest of your, I guess, weekend.
Yeah, have a good weekend. Bye. Good. And this is for what class?
Current issues in music.
Current issues in music. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, good luck to everybody. Is this the program from Fayette?
Yes.
Okay, that's a great program.
Yes.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, I'm glad that's available because that I know so many people that have gone. I wish more people take advantage of it. So, all right. You guys take care. Thank
Have
you.
a good summer.
Yeah.
You too. Bye.